I almost missed out on Harvest Moon Grand Bazaar because of the name Harvest Moon. And that's because on Steam, it's called Story of Seasons, but on the Nintendo Switch 2, it's still called Harvest Moon. And if you're aware, I'm sure you are, that there was a big split and Harvest Moon is no longer Harvest Moon. Harvest Moon is now Story of Seasons, and Harvest Moon is a completely different series. And in the last few years, the actual Harvest Moon named games have not been very good. So I decided to risk it all and try the game out because I used to love Harvest Moon and I want to love Harvest Moon, but they really haven't hit lately. But this one, I did not realize, is a remake of an old DS game that was originally called Harvest Moon, but is made by the Harvest Moon team. So it is actually a really good game because it's a remake of an old really good game. Apparently it was originally out on the DS and this came out in August of last year and I just completely missed it until now. It randomly popped up on my GameFly, so I said, you know what? No harm, no foul, let's rent it and see if it's actually worth the hype. And it totally is. And amazingly, for a game that was originally made on the DS, I dare say this is the closest competitor right now to Stardew Valley that exists in its current form. They have given it so many modern features that are so good that we would want in games like Stardew Valley, that if you enjoy Stardew Valley at all, this is your next play right now. The story, of course, is nothing to write home about. It's the same story you've heard a million times. You move to a new town, the town is dying, they need the farmer to save everything, you meet the townspeople, you give them gifts, you fall in love. We've seen it a million times. It works, but it's nothing special. But there are some stuff that really is special. Let me talk about a couple of really unique mechanics that made me fall in love with this game. In fact, you see the one going on right now. It is currently in a hurricane that is happening, and you can see up in the top right hand corner there is a little thing that's got a windsock that's got 3 arrows that are pointing up. That is because it is very, very windy. And what that wind does is it runs the windmills, obviously. And the windmills are your crafting. So when you get eggs, you can turn them into mayonnaise. You put them in this crafter and boom, you've got mayonnaise. You can see here the whole screen. You can upgrade tools. You can turn things into dye. You can make wool. You can make jewelry. You can make pickled things. You can make bouquets. There's a lot of different options, but it's dependent on the wind. So depending on how windy it is, it means it goes faster or slower. So each day you have a lot more choice over what do I want to make when I have high winds like this hurricane, or what do I want to make when I have low winds, and just adds a very unique mechanic to the game rather than just crafting it all at a tool bench or whatever. It just adds a little bit more to it. And I love you have a lot of choice over what kind of farmer you want to be. You can spend all day catching bugs and sell bugs. You can, of course, raise animals. You can do everything. You can raise crops, but you can also be a jeweler. You can raise jewelry and sell jewelry and be a jewel crafter as a farmer, and that's really cool. When the wind picks up, certain parts of the map become more easily accessible, so the days change depending on the weather, which again is just a nice little touch to shake it up every few days. Another mechanic I absolutely love is every new season, they'll tell you what items are trending. And these are items that people want, so they will sell better at the bazaar, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But the idea is rather than just going and Googling, hey, what's the best summer crop to make the most money? You can choose each season saying, okay, well, people want this item, so I'm going to focus on this instead. It gives you a reason to shake it up rather than just making a million strawberries or pineapples or whatever the highest selling crop in the game is, because different people want different things, so there's a chance to do different things with that. Here, of course, is the cooking screen, a lot of different cooking options. I'm making some sashimi, and you can see when I craft the item that there will be a freshness to it. So every item, every flower you pick, every crop that you pick has a freshness to it and eventually goes bad. So it's got a little bit of a time limit on it, so you got to figure out, what am I going to do with this crop when I harvest it? Do I sell it right away? Can I hold on to it for a little bit to pickle it or turn it into a different product? It starts to lose value the worse it gets. So again, these are just really unique little mechanics that make it feel awesome. I'll harp on Stardew Valley a little bit where you just mass hoard everything because the crop stays fresh forever in your bins. This doesn't happen here. The map always tells you where people are at. It tells you what they like. It's all built in and self-contained in the game. Very rarely will you ever need to Google something outside of the game. There's only 2 things that I Googled. One was where can I find vinegar, and honestly I could have found that in the game if I wanted to look at it. The other one kind of makes me feel a little dumb is you can see summer 7, so I've played for the first 37 days of the game and I haven't unlocked the bug catching net yet, and I thought that was really weird. I thought maybe I needed to raise my relationship up with the bug catcher character and maybe he'd give it to me. But no, apparently you can just walk up and catch the bugs. I'm just stupid, apparently, and haven't thought to actually just go pick up the bugs. I've been waiting to get the bug catcher net, so I had to Google that. But outside of that, most of it is self-contained and able to be figured out within the game. Again, talking about Stardew Valley because it's the closest comparison. I know there's a lot of people who are very upset that the game feels like a spreadsheet simulator where you have to Google a bunch of things and it's not self-contained within the game. This solves a lot of those problems. These quality of life buffs are amazing, and honestly, I want some of them to be in Stardew Valley. So the game is called Grand Bazaar, so let's talk about the bazaar. At the end of every week, you take all your crops and you can sell them at the bazaar. Now you can sell your crops elsewhere if you want to, but the bazaar is like the main mechanic, the main story of the game. Every week you take all the things you want to sell, you bring them to the bazaar, people come and bid on them and take them. Some things sell better than others. You can completely sell out, and as you do better on that, it upgrades the town, unlocks more things, so you want to be able to do that. So you save as much of your crops as possible for the Grand Bazaar. And that's a really cool mechanic. You go out, you see the whole town, there's a bunch of items that are unique to the bazaar that you can only buy at the bazaar, so it gives you a chance to go every week and see new things, buy upgrades, upgrade the house, sell your items, and it's kind of cool to watch people come by and want the items. You know, it's a little bit more interactive than just throwing it all in a bin and at the end of the night seeing a whole bunch of money go up. Instead, you're actually selling them, and eventually you'll unlock the harvest sprites, and they're involved in it as well. They'll come out and give you different buffs, different ways to sell things, increase freshness. Again, it's not an absolutely necessary thing, but it's a nice quality of life upgrade that makes it unique and stand apart and gives it a little bit more heart. I honestly couldn't even think of any negatives to the game, so I had to go to the Steam reviews to come up with any negatives just to give you like a fair and balanced review. Personally, I love the game. I think it's darn near what this entire genre should be, so I have no problems with it, but just so you have a different point of view, some of the negatives that people brought up. There were quite a few complaints that the animals can't pass away, and that is a staple that is older in the series. If you neglect your animals, they die. That no longer happens. They just become unhappy and don't produce for you. I personally don't care either way. I know there's a lot of people who've come to the cozy genre and feel like, well, there's too much pressure to do things. There's too much to do in a day, and I get really sad if the animals die. So it seems like this is a more friendly mechanic towards that, where there's still a punishment, but there's not as huge of a punishment. So I don't really see that as a negative, but I do know for some people that is a negative, that it is, quote, easier. There were a few complaints about the graphics, and honestly, I don't get it. The graphics look great. This is on the Switch 2 version of the game. It looks fine. It runs fine. I really don't see what they're complaining about. The only thing I can think of is that it's the people who are like, oh, it's anime style, chibi style, it's for children, it's for kids, they're insulting my intelligence by this. But I don't think that holds any merit, but that is one of the complaints. There was a complaint that there wasn't any mines to do, which Stardew Valley did kind of revolutionize everything in adding the mines. You know that there's combat, there's a whole other aspect to the game to level up in that combat and use your cooking for, and I do miss that, and I do prefer my games to have a little bit of combat in them. So I do wish that was there, but I also understand this game predates that, and they were just remaking a game that already existed, so it's not like they were going to add a whole new expansion to it. The most valid complaint is the price. I got this game from GameFly, which means I didn't pay for it, like I didn't pay full price for it, I just rented the game. So, I didn't pay the huge cost of it, but not on sale, the game is $50. And while I don't necessarily have a problem with that, it's not a full $70 price tag, I could see how like a DS game for $50 in the 2020s feels like a lot, especially we can go get Stardew Valley for what, $8 on sale? And to be honest, as much as I compared this to Stardew Valley still wins in so many different ways. So like if you had to choose between this or Stardew Valley, I would pick Stardew Valley every time. But if you've played Stardew Valley and you're burnt out from Stardew Valley, this is a good alternative. There are so many farming, crafting games that come out where I play them and I play it for like 5 hours and I'm like, yeah, it's not a bad game, but I can see this just a soulless clone, right? They threw in a bunch of marriage candidates, they threw in the mines, they took all the ideas of Stardew Valley and said, yep, we got all the same things, so come play our game because it's exact clone. Well, I don't want an exact clone, right? If I wanted to play Stardew Valley, I'd play Stardew Valley. I want your game to be unique. I want it to have heart. I want it to have something about it that makes it special or stand apart. And I really feel like this game nailed it, again, all the quality life that I praised it for, but it definitely feels like its own game. There are, of course, a lot of marriage candidates. Now, one of the complaints I did see about the game is this is, again, an old mechanic. Back in the old days of Harvest Moon, there was like a rival system where if you didn't marry someone or if you took too long to marry someone, well, then they would get married to someone else and they would no longer become a candidate to you. They have removed that. The people kind of like Stardew Valley, they only exist for your, I don't want to say pleasure, it sounds kind of gross, but that's what it is, right? Time stands still unless you're doing something as like a main character syndrome. So like that mechanic, it's not here. If you don't like that mechanic, I can understand. Again, a lot of people want their cozy games to be able to be taken at their own pace. They don't want this risk of losing things. They don't want this risk of, if I don't do everything perfectly or in order, then I miss out on content forever. I appreciate that about modern games, and I can see that philosophy. So again, I don't see that as a downside, but some people are putting that as a downside. It feels really big when you first start playing, but it does get a little bit smaller as you unlock like the double jump and the glider. As you get more options to traverse the town, it becomes a lot faster to traverse the town, which is a good thing because there are so many little aspects. It's like, I wish I could cut corners here. Well, guess what? You can cut those corners. And then, of course, once you get the horse, it becomes even faster. So those upgrades feel meaningful and impactful to the game. And I really appreciate when an upgrade actually feels like, hey, this is a real upgrade. This is doing something and altering the game forevermore. I really appreciate when an upgrade's not just, you know how in like ARPGs where you get a new weapon and the upgrade is just like plus 2 more stamina or plus 2 more weapons, damage. And it's like, yes, I got an upgrade technically, but I can't really feel that upgrade. I like it when I can feel the upgrades, and that's what it feels like in this game. The upgrades are definitely impactful in that way. The music is also really good. I wouldn't say it's on level with Stardew Valley. I think Stardew Valley's music is some of the best video game music of all time ever made. And because I played this on the Switch, there were times where I was playing it in silent mode because, I was out in public or something, so I couldn't hear all the different music. But when I could hear the music, it was enjoyable. It wasn't bothersome. It's something I could see myself putting on in the background, so it's definitely high quality music. There's voice acting. Again, it's one of those things people had some weird complaints about, like, well, they put voice acting in the game, but it's only during cutscenes. I don't see that as a problem. Not many games have voice acting, so the fact that they even put voice acting in the game, I think is a wonderful addition to, again, bring it to life, make it stand apart a little bit. I really appreciate that. I love the mayor. His voice acting really gives me a chuckle, so I enjoy seeing that in the game as well. The last complaint I'll put out here, again, this isn't my personal complaint, but I can see where people are coming from. This came from the Steam reviews, is that you run out of stamina fast. And that is true. There are very often where you have to make choices in your game between, am I going to go farming for ore today? Am I going to water all my crops today? Am I going to do this or that? You don't have a ton of stamina. In the beginning, there are ways to upgrade that stamina and upgrade your tools and things like that, so you have more stamina to do things throughout the day. So you incrementally get more time to do things. But again, there's this design philosophy debate on whether or not cozy games like this should have infinite amount of time for you to do everything, or if there should be meaningful choices where, hey, you can't do everything in a day, so you have to decide what is best for you. I personally like when I have to make those meaningful when you have those meaningful decisions to make around what am I going to do with my day. But again, I can see where people are coming from. We're like, well, I want this game to be stress-free, so I want to have all the time to do all the things during the day. Why is this game stressing me out? This game is not supposed to stress me out. So both points are valid. I'm just pointing out that that stamina bar does exist, and it does feel a little small sometimes. So all in all, if you haven't played this game, give it a try. It is so worth it. I have not played a Stardew Valley knockoff or Harvest Moon in a long time that has been this enjoyable. Again, $50 is a little pricey, but I definitely think it's worth the price. But if you had to choose between this and Stardew Valley, definitely get Stardew Valley. But that's my review for the game. As always, thank you for watching and have a blessed day.